Hello, eBay friends! We have made it! Episode number 100! Thank you for tuning in week after week. We wouldn't have gotten to 100 episodes if the listeners didn't support this show. So thank you all for listening and making this podcast part of your week. Today's date is February 15th, 2023. My guest is Julie in Montana, who specializes in postcards and ephemera. Okay, this is the announcements section. I haven't given you an update on the premium library lately, so let me give you a few bullet points about what is going on there. Number 1, I have been working through the beginner course updating the out-of-date stuff. eBay had a lot of changes last year, including migrating everyone to managed payments, introducing the new international shipping system, and taking Terapeak back 2 years, among other things. You may not think the beginner course applies to you if you are an experienced seller, but remember that life often takes us away from eBay for weeks or months or even years. So if you put your eBay business on hold and deal with life and then come back, you can jump right into the beginner course and see what has changed. The course is broken up into segments so you can go directly to what you need to review. Or if you are brand new to eBay, you'll be getting the most current information all in one place in an easy to understand format. The second thing, I have started adding BOLOs to both the lessons and the twice monthly bulletins where I am on camera talking to you. Sometimes I find out about a hot item and I want to get that information to my students as soon as possible. So there may not be a lesson about it until later when I've had time to research it and put everything together. So consider the bulletins breaking news in the eBay world. There are now 53 of them, totaling 4.5 hours. And there are some juicy nuggets of information in those bulletins, as well as encouragement and motivation. Those updates are only 5 to 10 minutes long, so you can get your information concisely, succinctly, and quickly. And sometimes I even dress up in funny costumes. Number 3, there are more keyword lessons. We are up to 28 of those now, totaling 4.5 hours. These are important because if you aren't using the same terminology as your buyers, they will have a much harder time finding your listings. And some of these keyword lessons are just made up words that have become popular in culture, and you may not even know it's a word. So even if you're a wordsmith, there's always new keywords to learn. The fourth thing is I have started a new course for 2023 about selling hats. This is an overlooked item in thrift stores because something very plain can be valuable. There's a lot of opportunity with this product category because there are so many different kinds of hats made from different materials, different fashion statements, and my favorite part, aside from the profitability, is that hats are lightweight, don't take up much room to store, easy to photograph, easy to ship, and I can't remember ever having one returned. So those are just a few updates. I usually add 8 to 10 new pieces of content every month. The library now has 570 videos totaling 150 hours of education. You can get a free trial, which includes downloading anything you want and keeping it forever, as well as the unlimited email support help desk directly with me during your free trial period. I want you to experience the high quality information and see firsthand how it can help your business. So jump on board and check it out for free. The information is below this podcast. Okay, now into the chat with Julie.
Hello, listeners. Today we have Julie with us, and she has a really unique business and a YouTube channel. And I think you're heading towards your own podcast. Is that right?
Thinking about it. Yep.
Okay. Well, this time you get to be on the guest side of things. So when you have your own podcast, it's like different. There's a role reversal thing there. So, but you'll figure it out because you have a YouTube channel, which we will talk about too.
Okay.
So, say hi to the listeners, and where are you located?
Well, hi, I'm Julie, and I live in near Billings, Montana. We live in a little town that there's 4 buildings in the town and no stores.
4 buildings?
Yeah. Well, there might be 5 if you count the grain elevator. Yep.
Okay. So what are the buildings?
There's a post office, a church, a school. It's 2-room schoolhouse that closed a year and a half ago.
Oh.
And then what is the other one? And an old storefront that's no longer a storefront.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're pretty rural.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Have you lived there very long?
About 8 years.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what brought you there?
My husband, we used to live in Minnesota, and my husband was looking for a new job, and he found one in Billings. We lasted about 6 months in Billings because we really liked the country more. And then we moved out here when we found a house. And it's on a 4,000-acre ranch, but we're not the ranchers.
Oh my gosh. 4,000 acres?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, the ranchers to the west of us have 10,000. I don't remember how many. There's miles between each house.
Okay.
So,
yeah. So everything's pretty spread out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And so we know where you are. That's going to bring up a lot of questions about how you get your eBay inventory and all of that, because that is a struggle for people who are in more rural areas with fewer options.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with when you started eBay and what brought you into the business.
Okay, I probably did eBay back in the 90s when it was big. I think I even had the eBay magazine, if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
And then I took a break for many years. And then when I was diagnosed with multiple chronic illnesses in 2000, I decided I needed to find something that I could do for work, because I couldn't do a regular job anymore. And my husband had an eBay account he'd been kind of selling things on. So I basically took it over, and I stumbled across postcards, which are one of the most collected items, along with stamps and coins and such. And I like them because I like ephemera. I was an English major, so I like words and I like history. So it was perfect fit. And so then I just found postcards and started to learn about them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're one of those early adopters who needed a job at home. We don't have to talk about your illnesses if you don't want to, but that is a common thing now with people who need to be at home because physically you just can't work a regular job. You don't know what your day is going to be like, and you can't commit to that, but you can work on eBay when you feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly why. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good for you. So the big question is, where are you finding postcards to resell?
Well, the first postcards that I got were in a lot of letters that I got at a local online auction. Mm-hmm. And then because I got them for the letters, because I also have a couple of vintage booths in Billings. Mm-hmm. So I'm always looking for local things for that. And when I got the postcards and then started thinking, how do I sell these? Then I learned that people are really collecting them. Mm-hmm. And since then, you can actually buy large lots on eBay. and then sell them individually. But you just have to know what to look for
Mhm.
good ones. I
Okay.
also, in the antique store, there's usually postcards, just wherever you go. I even buy sometimes new postcards off the rack and sell them. Like you get them for 50 cents, and then I've sold them for $5 or $6.
Really?
Yeah, they have to be a
Okay.
little bit different. But yeah, I was surprised at that.
And that is a very interesting product to sell. You mentioned they're collectible, like stamps and coins and record albums, but I feel like those three categories, stamps, coins, and records, there's so much you need to know about grading them and understanding, what they are. But does postcards have that same criteria of, being graded and that type of thing?
Not usually. No, I've never really seen a graded postcard. I know there's probably some people who do, but the condition doesn't matter as much because it's something you sent through the mail and you kind of expect it to be a little damaged. I've
Hmm.
sold ones with tears and with corners missing. They've been stained. It depends on the rarity of the postcard.
Okay.
If it's a very common postcard, then condition will matter. But
Hmm.
sometimes there's not a lot of them, and then people will just want them because of the subject matter or the postmark or something.
Right. There's a lot of factors involved in figuring out what they're worth because it
Right.
may have the postmark of a town that doesn't exist anymore
Mhm.
or something like that, which we're going to get into all that criteria in just a minute. But it's just so we can have the listeners hooked. I think you sold a postcard for $400. I saw that on the $100 thread at some point.
Yep. It was $412. And I had looked up comps for the area that the postcard was in because I couldn't find the exact one. And I also use WorthPoint as well as, searching online.
Hmm.
Um, and I noticed that most of the postcards went for about $100. So I thought that was really neat. I put it up for auction,
Hmm.
and I was really surprised when it ended at $412. So yeah, and I probably paid less than 50 cents for it.
Do you remember what was on the postcard, what the scene was?
It was of a scene of a lake in North Carolina with a resort or a hotel. And apparently, there's a lot of people in North Carolina who collect that place, and the older, the better.
So Lake Lure is where Dirty Dancing was filmed. Was it that resort?
No, it was. Well, I'm not going to even remember it.
And that was maybe a year and a half ago. It was a while back. So
Yeah, you think I would remember that? But there's been so many postcards since then, and normally they sell for $5 to $10 each around that. So it's basically those that are the bread and butter and the long tail selling.
right. So what are some of your other notable sales that you remember as far as selling price and what was on the postcard?
There was there's a real photo postcard, which are postcards that are actual photos, which are very collectible. And I found one of a beer company, and there was a woman on the front sitting on some kegs with a stein of beer, and I
Mhm.
put that one at auction as well. And it went for about $100. So there's yeah, and there's lots of them that go for around that price.
Mhm.
But and I'm really happy when they go over $20. But with something that I spend less than probably 50 cents on, the sell through of the profit margin on it is pretty high.
Mhm. Yeah, and they don't take up much room.
No,
And
I
they're
have actually thousands. I'm nearing 10,000 on my listings. Yeah.
so do you have an average that you sell per day?
I started this about a year and a half ago, so I try to sell about. My goal is right now $50 a day, and
Mhm.
then once I reach that, I'm going to go to 100 and so on. But the more that I list, the more that I sell because postcards are a long tail
Mhm.
sell sale. So there's some postcard people who say they finally sold a postcard that they listed 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
so it's more about quantity in postcards.
Well, and that goes for a lot of items. I sold a pair of eyeglasses I had listed for, let's see, I listed them in 19 and they sold at the end of 2022. So 3 years.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's fine. They're cheap. They're $1. They don't take up hardly any room. And it's just waiting for the person who wants that pair because maybe they had the exact same one and it finally broke and they went to get a new pair and they didn't like anything new. They want the old one they're used to, all of that, which is a different situation than collectors with postcards. Do you have any kind of insight on who buys them? Is it usually collectors or is it, somebody just looking for a souvenir from that place?
A lot of them are collectors. They will have saved searches in eBay. So
Mhm.
you know that if something sells within a day, actually it's probably somebody who has that saved search.
Mhm.
So there's people who collect places or like the beer company or maybe a certain gas station sign, all kinds of different collectors. But there's also some people that I get notes of that say, thank you for this card. This was somebody who I knew or was a relative, or this is a place my family used to own. So a lot of people are collecting their past or
Mhm.
even genealogy. There was one lady early on, I had what they call soldier's mail postcard. And she asked, if I knew the company or something like that on it. And it wasn't quite the one that she was looking for. And she says that she checks eBay every day because she's looking for some of her ancestors.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I bet those kinds of things do pop up because if you go to a estate sale and you just buy a big box of random personal stuff like that,
Mhm.
um, who knows? I was helping a friend after her mother passed and helping her go through some things that were in a storage unit. And there were several photos in there, probably from the late 1800s. And nobody in the family knew who those people were.
Mhm.
They were just, she's like, let's just put it on eBay. Maybe somebody will buy it for something. But it was like maybe 8 people and it was either black and white or sepia. And nobody knew who anybody was.
Yeah.
So that's got to be a challenge for those working on genealogy to find photos when you don't even know the names of the people in the photos.
Hmm. I actually do like to sell photos too, but postcards are the main thing. But when I find like a lot at an estate sale, there is a bit of sadness that this family doesn't know these people, they don't value them, or sometimes there's nobody left in the family
Mhm.
to pass it on to. So it's kind of sad when it's separated from the original family. But there's sometimes though when I've actually found like a marriage certificate, and I am also oddly enough the genealogist of my family, my
Mhm.
adopted family, which is a long story. So I find sometimes I find the people through searching on genealogy websites and return them to the people because I
Okay.
think a marriage certificate I think should go back to the family for sure. But
Yeah.
it's not,
Well,
it's not always easy to find the original people for a postcard or a photo because they just basically, if they are labeled at all, it's very minimal.
okay. Yeah, not every family has a historian.
No.
I did it for my family for a while and then I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in this position anymore. I had an uncle who really got into the genealogy and documented a lot of things when he was retired, like he had time to do it. And all of those websites were popping up, 23andMe and Ancestry and all the different ones. So he got into it. But yeah, you have to really be interested in it and committed because it just goes everywhere.
Mhm, it does.
So if you're adopted, did you go looking for your biological family through the ancestry sites?
I when I was adopted, I was dropped off. It was from South Korea because probably can't see me, but the people where I was dropped off or abandoned and brought to an orphanage, so there's no knowledge of who
Oh,
dropped me off or names.
mhm,
They actually gave me a name at the orphanage and also a birth date. They guessed at it. So
mhm.
the as far as I could go would be to leave a letter with the adoption agency and hope that the parents would also leave a letter. That's the only way you could connect there. I
Mhm.
did do DNA and I did find a second cousin, but that's as close as I've found. So, but I'm actually the youngest of five children, and the parents of the family lost three girls, so they adopted three girls. And
Oh,
yeah, and when my dad he had pancreatic cancer, so he entrusted me with the family photos and history and stuff because he knew I was more interested in history than the rest of the family, ironically.
yeah. Well, that's very interesting when you're adopted because you just don't know if certain illnesses are in your family. Like you could prepare better if you knew your family's history. But unfortunately, that's just I think more and more people are in your situation than we think.
It
Um,
could be, yeah.
I'm
I
actually
mean,
reading a book called Stolen at Birth,
mhm,
which is about a clinic in North Georgia in the 40s through 60s. They just did like black market adoptions out the back door. The
mm,
whoever had the baby that didn't want to keep it, and then they'd have a family parents sitting out in the car at the back door, and they just passed it straight through the like. And
mm,
now all these children are adults, and like, where did I come from? Who's my real family? Like, do I have siblings? Like, and
mhm.
it's fascinating. I think they're making a show about it on either Hulu or Netflix or something like that. But this is one of the girls that went through that system and found out she was from that clinic, and it's very frustrating. Um, I can't imagine doing it, trying to find your roots in a different country. That's got to be very difficult.
Yeah, I was very happy with my family, and I probably will never find the birth family, which is fine. So,
Yeah. Well, it's good that you've come to that decision, because I can imagine it'd be very frustrating hitting a lot of dead ends doing this research. So
mhm,
anyway, that it's great that people do put these items on eBay, so maybe the family can find them at some
yep.
point. There's more and more of that. I see all kind of things on the Money Making Mondays, like letters to soldiers in World War II, and postcards with something written on the back about people on vacation or whatever they're doing, and it is fascinating. It is history.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when I get a large lot of postcards, there's multiple ones to a certain person, and you can kind of see, who wrote, oh, here's another birthday message to her in this year, and you kind of go through their whole history in a matter of, postcards,
mhm.
and that's to me that's fascinating. Um, Yeah, and the soldier's mail that I referred to was during World War II. On the back of the postcard, instead of a stamp, they write the word free. And then they usually have a message they'll tell like private or whoever with which company and such. So then I always try to include that in the listing because people might be looking for that company or that fort or whatever. Because it's a really interesting piece of our history, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk about what criteria you look for that makes a postcard valuable.
So it basically is the subject matter is a lot of it, and like I referred to the real photo postcards. Those are often very collectible because sometimes there may only be just one or two of them. Early on in the early 1900s, photographers would go out to houses or to cities, and they would take pictures, and they would have some of them made into real photo postcards, so they could send them on to their families because we didn't have Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
That's how they
Yeah.
yeah, that's how they shared their posts. And so those sometimes you see very rare images of things that long gone. So I always look for those. I also like to specialize in Montana because I'm in Montana. It
Mhm.
seems like people here love Montana, other people love Montana. So it just in the Old West, the romanticized version at least. And yeah, I live on a ranch. I know it's not really romantic.
Yeah, I've lived in the country too. We only had 300 acres. We lived on 300 acres, and so what, a tenth of what you live on, and it is so much work. It's just, and you can't, if you are the rancher or the farmer, you can never leave because you have to hire somebody to do stuff for you while you're gone because your animals have to be fed and
Yep.
all the things that have to be done. And it's very hard to get away on a vacation if you have a big operation like that.
Yeah. And yesterday we had a 30 below wind chill, and
Ah,
they still have to go out and feed the cows and check the water and
right.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and keeping the water from freezing when it's that cold, you have to have running water somewhere or whatever.
Yep.
We were only in the mountains of Tennessee, so nothing like what you get. But I remember we had a big snow one year, and we had some calves in the barn that we were bottle feeding because their mothers didn't want them, and it snowed. It was like 2 feet, and
Yeah.
just walking, we walking to the barn and then get the tractor and make a little path so you can walk down there and just everything is more difficult with bad weather. So I admire you for surviving out there. It just seems
Well,
so cold and rugged.
yeah, like I said, I'm not the rancher. We actually live on the second house in the ranch, but sometimes when they're gone, of course, we're going out feeding their steers and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, but we see all of our neighbors around us are ranchers, and they're always so busy all year round.
Yeah, I can imagine you get asked to do things here and there to help them bridge the gap.
Mhm.
So you're kind of like a rancher in waiting.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you've learned enough to know. Yeah, that's a little rough. But some
Yeah,
people
I think
just
yeah.
love it. Like these men that just love a reason to get on the tractor.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's a big excuse to have tractors and semi trucks.
Big
The
toys.
men. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we ran into in Tennessee is my ex-husband he just wanted to be out on the tractor all the time, or oh, I got to do this, I got to go fix this fence post thing, I got to do that. It was just always it was more work than having children because it's just always something, and that's how you earn your living. So you got to fix the fence so the cows don't get out and all those problems. But
Hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
we've gotten off topic,
Yeah.
um, which I tend to do.
That's
Um,
okay.
so let's talk about I read somewhere along the way in my eBay journey about things that people are looking for in postcards, and it's like landmarks that don't exist anymore, or just the vintage clothing and cars and hairstyles,
Mhm.
and maybe Howard Johnson Motel that doesn't exist anymore. Do you
Yeah,
look for those kind of things?
I do. I look for the old things that look like they probably aren't there anymore. And it's a lot of times I go on instinct, but there's a few places that I know people do collect, such as oddly enough, Sun Valley, Idaho lately has been trending because there's a lot of people who are moving out to like Idaho and Montana and stuff, and then they're collecting where they're moving to. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, like the old tragedies, like they'll have photos of real photos of train wrecks or fires or something. People like the tragedy,
Oh,
and then
yeah. Isn't
I
that
know
weird?
it is, but the unusual. And there's like transportation is always good, like the old ships and old
Mm-hmm.
planes. He's like the airlines used to put out different cards and they used to be free for people to take. The same
Mm-hmm.
with hotels. People like hotels, especially certain views. Sometimes I like to see the inside of the bedrooms
Mm-hmm.
and see what they used to look like, or in a lot like the restaurants and such. Let's see here. I just sold a couple real photo postcards of a place called Santa Claus Town in Minnesota. And there wasn't any other ones up there. So one of them went for $30 at
Good.
auction. And
Okay.
that's not there anymore. Yeah. And also, yes, postmarks of places that don't exist anymore. People do collect them. And also sometimes it's the messages. Like I just sold basically a Postcard overnight, and I noticed on the message, because I sometimes often read them or skim through them, that they were saying that this person had measles and mumps and such. And so I made sure to put that in the title, because once again, people like the unusual or the
Mhm.
odd. And there's actually some people who made postmortem pictures
Mhm.
too, and those are collectible. I've seen them, but I don't know if I feel right about selling those. But I'm
Yeah,
not
like
sure.
somebody at their funeral or something, like the coffin?
They actually prop them up to look like they're living. Yeah, I mean, you can tell it by the eyes. It's weird. I know
Was this
people
a
like
really
weird
old
stuff
one, like over 100 years old?
around. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the thing back in Victorian times to photograph the dead. That was something they did, I guess, to remember them. But it honestly, back in during the Industrial Revolution, like the living looked like the dead. I mean, everyone was so depressed. It was a horrible time to live. It was dirty. Everyone was overworked, and they photography was coming along during that time. So, but you see these families, and everyone just looks so depressed and malnourished and awful. And then you see the photos of the dead, and it's like there's not a whole lot of difference here.
I know, like I said, you can only tell sometimes by the eyes.
Right. But interesting that you've come across that. That
Mhm.
must have been some really old postcards.
Yeah, it's oddly enough, postcards are very common, and I've seen a lot of people who would stumble across postcards that are 100 years old and think that they're worth $100.
Hmm.
But reality, back in the early 1900s, was the golden age of postcards, where everybody was sending postcards to everybody, like almost
Hmm.
every day, it seems. So there's a lot of images that are so common that they're really not worth more than $5 or so,
Hmm.
even though they're very old.
Yeah. So it's the devil's in the detail. It's just what is it? Is it the postmark? Is it? It may not even be the content of the photo on the front. It may be something in the writing on the back. A
Yeah,
love
yeah,
story
sometimes,
or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some people who find signatures of famous people on there.
Hmm.
I probably would miss it because I don't know all the, unless it's somebody very prominent.
So this is what you buy them online mostly. You're saying at online auctions, just like box lots of ephemera.
That's how I started doing it
Mhm.
on eBay. And the only thing with doing that is a lot of times those have been a little picked over. So the really good ones aren't there anymore. So I actually started to go more to get antique stores and look for the reasonably priced postcards, because some people like ours are listing them for retail, which is fine. That's what I do. But there's some people who just list them for like 50 cents or $1 each, and that's when I
Mhm.
can pick through them and find some good ones. I actually in the beginning of January went back to Minnesota to visit family and decided to turn it into a buying trip at the same time, because there's a lot more places out there than there are in Montana.
Mhm.
And I found a lot of good postcards that I've been selling for nice prices, and it covers the price of my trip.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a buying trip. It's
Mhm.
business.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and because they're postcards, they fit my suitcase.
Right. Oh, yeah. So you're going to fly there. That's not a
Yeah.
drive. Okay. Yeah. So you can bring them back. So they're small, they're compact, they're inexpensive, and eventually everything sells. So
Hmm.
a
I
lot
hope.
of perks to selling that kind of item.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned that you and Christy, who was on a previous podcast, she's in Montana, have a booth at the same place.
No, I think she's at the other place. There's two main antique malls down in downtown Billings, and they're only a couple blocks apart.
Hmm.
And she's at the other one.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've met her, but I know I want to find her. So if you're listening,
Well, I can definitely connect you. I have both of y'all's emails, so I'll just send a group email, and if y'all want to connect, you can. Because
okay.
I would
Yeah,
imagine the eBay seller in Montana is a rare thing.
actually not.
No.
I've seen a lot of people who do, probably because um, there's not a lot of jobs in Montana.
Unless you want to be a rancher on a 4,000 acre ranch.
Or you're telecommuting to someplace that's paying you something from another state. So Montana, Billings is basically the largest town in Montana, and it has about 100,000 people.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a small town where a lot of the resellers know each other, and the state people know me, my name, and I even have some of their.
My assumption was wrong. It's actually the opposite. The smaller town people know each other better than the big city people because there's fewer of you and you run into each other more often.
Yeah, we do. We see the same faces at the estate sales. And I even have like the phone numbers of some of the estate sale people.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's business. It's good for them to know they have repeat customers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Montana is basically a small town. There's just a little over 1 million people in the whole state. So, even if I go across the state and go picking, I can often find somebody that will have connection or something, or no, it's just everywhere you go, you have some kind of connection to somebody.
The next question sellers and listeners are going to ask is, how are you shipping these postcards?
Well, eBay had started around the time I started Postcards. They introduced the eBay standard envelope, which you can use for certain items. I think it's postcards, stamps, and coins, if I remember right. And it's a special rate, and it has a sort of a tracking on it, which tracks from post office to post office, not door to door. So it's right now it costs me 60 cents to send 1 or 2 postcards in an envelope. And I think you can go up to 3 ounces and up to 3 postcards. They have some limitations on them. So basically, I just charge $1 shipping, and I use the eBay standard envelope, and then it covers my envelope costs and other things. And a lot of people do it. Some people offer free shipping, but I don't know why you would do that. But that's just my philosophy. I think people should pay the shipping.
Right. Yeah. So is it just like a standard letter size envelope?
You can do a standard letter size. I use what they call EcoSwift envelopes, and they're let's see here. I think they're about 4 by 6 or something.
I was just going to say probably 4 by 6 because that would be about the size of a postcard.
Yeah, because there's a couple sizes of postcards, and that will fit most of them.
And so there's enough tracking to satisfy eBay that you've shipped the item, and the buyer gets the message, your item has been shipped, and here's your tracking number.
Right. Yeah. Because I've had a few people, message me about it, and, with a request for a refund or something because they didn't get it. And then I go through and, add the tracking number to the request. And I do keep in contact with the buyer too, because sometimes things can happen. But yeah, it's enough for eBay's to give me the credit that I actually mailed it.
That is wonderful. So when did this eBay standard envelope happen?
I think it was maybe around 1.5 years or 2 years ago. I don't exactly remember, but it's always been there when I've been selling the postcards.
That is wonderful information because I don't know everything and I don't ship that kind of item. So I'd seen this mentioned a few times on the Facebook group when people would ask about shipping ephemera. Like, it doesn't make sense to give it a 3 ounce weight if it doesn't need it, because that's going to be at least $4 for first class. But this is sort of a hybrid of a letter and a package, and it gets a tracking number.
Yeah. Well, before this, a lot of postcard people would just put a stamp on the envelope and send it through the mail. And the thing about postcard collectors is they're generally honest, and they're not going to, they're not trying to scam you. And plus, the average cost is very low, so it doesn't attract people who are trying to scam you out of something.
Right. So, yeah. So what if it is a high dollar one, an $80 or $100 or a $400 postcard? Do you up it to the first class with the real tracking on it?
Yes, because with the eBay standard envelope, it's up to $20 in value because they don't want to cover beyond that. So then I go to like the first class shipping with tracking after that.
Perfect. Yeah, that would make me a little nervous if it was a $400 postcard just to do a 60 cent.
Yeah, that one priority.
Yeah, that one we upgrade. Definitely. Okay, great. Now, other than postcards, is there anything else that ephemera that you like to sell?
Yeah, I like I mentioned photos, and
Mhm.
there's like brochures and menus and maps and all kinds of ephemera. Where's some other ones? There's things that my husband can't believe people pay for.
Mhm.
Oh, NASCAR tickets. I found a binder of somebody who had a bunch of tickets, and these were like passes for the back, where the drivers would get the passes
Right,
to
like a backstage
the
pass kind
pits
of.
and stuff like
Right.
that. Yeah. And so I was started to sell them. I couldn't really find much comps, so I just sold them for about $5, $10 or something, not knowing, just to test the market. And they sold pretty fast. So I realized I could list them for more. But they're just little slips of paper, and they're very tattered because the guys probably had them in their pockets
Mhm.
and just throw at the event. But I probably paid $5 or for the whole binder, and one item paid for the whole thing. So you never know. I mean, there's old tickets, old ads. There's just um, things people don't think are worth anything are actually very collectible.
And I think the older you get, the more nostalgic you get. Um, I'm that way. I've been going through 80s movies that I never saw. Now that I have, like, I'm an empty nester and I have extra time, I'm like, I've never seen that. And it's just, I'm always looking at the background and what's going on and what they have on their shelves and, um,
Hmm.
the clothes they're wearing. And it's just mind blowing what people will pay for. I mean, even you've been in this business over 20 years
Hmm.
and it's just, you've seen it. I don't think we've seen it all, but we've seen a
Yeah.
lot. And it's just really, somebody wanted a napkin from the varsity, somebody wanted this old swizzle stick from something,
Hmm.
Las Vegas or whatever, some motel that doesn't exist anymore. And it's,
Yeah.
matchbooks and all that even
Yeah.
if they're empty. Yeah.
I sold a hotel key for about $75, and it's like a hotel key.
Like a
And
real metal key, not like a
yeah,
key card.
right. It was a real metal key with the fob on it. Yeah, that identified the hotel, and that was from a Billings hotel that isn't in existence anymore.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like anything, collectibles have trends too, and like you said, people collect their childhood. So right now, basically, our childhood we're probably around the same age is what people want. So I figure when I go sourcing for my antique booth, that whatever was in my childhood home is
Hmm.
what people are going to want. So now it's easy for me to find stuff.
Do you mind sharing what year you were born?
74.
Okay. So I was born in 66. So I'm a little bit
Okay.
older, but
Mhm.
like all that 70s stuff that you saw in your
Right.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just mind blowing what people want. And I've even bought some things like, oh, we had one of those. Oh, what happened to it? And I'll buy it just to have the nostalgia, and then I'll sell it. it's like
Yeah.
it's like my
That's the
house
thing.
is this revolving door of stuff that comes in. I enjoy it for a while, and I resell it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Now, how much room does 1,000 postcards take up?
Well, if you imagine like a regular shoebox, I can probably fit about 700, 800 in one of those boxes. So,
Okay, so not
yeah,
much
so I
room
can
at
fit a
all.
lot in a small space.
How do you organize them so you can find them when they sell?
I use the SKU numbers, and like with eBay, you can add SKU numbers. So I just number them numerically.
Hmm.
And that's then just put them in order in the boxes, and it's basically I can find postcards when I need them, unless I made a mistake on the front end.
So do
Which
you actually write your SKU number on the card, or do you do like a Post-it so you can take it off?
I put them in postcard sleeves,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
then I put a numbered sticker on them, and they're removable stickers, so it's
Okay.
easy to take it off.
That's something to think about, because I envision like all these sellers like, I'm going to do that. And Julie said she puts the SKU on the card.
No,
No, not on the postcard.
no.
That's the kind of stuff you figure out later when you're like, oh, that was not a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, my husband used to joke that maybe I should just put a stamp on the postcard and write it and send it like that. He has a sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that probably would
That's
not
not good.
be cool with the buyer.
Yeah. Well, some people will use dividers and they will put so many in each section. But I find that I started kind of that way. And then I found with having now 10,000, I don't want to pull out a bunch of postcards and rifle through them and find them.
Right.
Now they each have their individual number, so it's a lot easier to find them.
Okay, and this segues perfectly into your YouTube channel because you commented on some stuff of mine, and I'm like, who's Julie? And most commenters don't have a YouTube channel. You know, they're busy doing their own thing. They're not over commenting. And so I looked at some of your videos and I'm like, wow, she knows a lot about postcards.
It looks like
here's your opportunity to talk about your YouTube channel.
Sure. Well, like with postcards, I started it in the pandemic when I didn't have a lot of options to go out and do anything. And it started as a paper planner channel. And then it morphed into the YouTube, the reselling channel as it is now, because that's basically what is taking up my time and my mental space. And it's been really good to share things. Like I said, I've only been selling postcards for a year and a half, although I'm not new to reselling. And so as I learned things, I'm sharing them. And like the $412 sale, it was kind of funny after that one postcard that I couldn't find anywhere when I was searching, all of a sudden a bunch of them popped up after that sale.
Of course.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I didn't know that was worth that much. So, and there's other postcard YouTubers that I was following too. But it's been really good to have that community because sometimes you don't know there's people who sell postcards, but you don't really hear from them about what they're doing and, and their practices. So I'll often ask questions and I'll answer. And it's been really good to have that community and the support and just ways, the traditional postcard sellers didn't do because they probably didn't have the opportunity as well.
Well, I'll definitely put a link to your channel below the podcast so people can find you if they want to know more, because you do have a lot of very informative videos.
So thank you.
And then I think the one I watched, you were talking about maybe starting a podcast.
Yeah, sometimes I have to rein myself in because I have too many ideas, not enough time.
Yes, I think we're related. I do the same thing.
Yeah, so I have to stop and think about it for a while and say, do I really have the time and the energy? Because I'm also, building up my eBay and inventory store and doing YouTube, dealing with everyday life. So do I have the time to commit?
Well, I feel you on that because my eBay store is a lot of days the last priority for me because I was like committed to putting things on YouTube. Every week I put a new video usually and then a podcast that cycles over. And then, doing the podcast and interviews and editing them and all the other things, my online school, all that stuff. And then it's like 6:00 at night. I'm like, I haven't listed anything today. So I want to get in that space where my store is more of a priority because that's the core of everything, and I want to do a lot more. I can do a lot more. I'm capable of a lot more. It's just these other things. I enjoy the teaching side of it so much. Just, I'm like you. It's like, I found out something. I got to tell everybody. They need to know this so they can make more money or their life will be easier or whatever it is. And it's just, I think it's just part of your DNA that you like to share knowledge with people because it helps everybody. So we are recording this on a Tuesday morning. And so my priority today is listing. as soon as we're done with this and I take my stuff to the post office, I'm like, that's what I'm doing for the rest of the day. I'm going to catch up on my listing because that's the part I love. And I get ideas for what I'm going to put in my podcasts and videos. Like I discover new things. So that part is really my favorite, but I feel you on the YouTube stuff. It's just, it takes a lot longer than people think.
It does. Yeah. I started to track how much time I spend on eBay and on my booths and on YouTube. And I'm like, wow, I thought I put more time into eBay than I did, but I'm actually putting more time. It's still more than YouTube, but not as much as I thought.
Right. Well, I would love to do 10 new items a day. And it's a lot to pack that in. And then you have your shopping days where you're out getting inventory or you're scrolling through online estate sales or whatever it is. And that takes time. I mean, you have to have time to get the stuff. So some days I don't list anything because I'm out treasure hunting and getting more stuff.
Which is also fun.
Yeah, that's like a vacation day for me. I love the shopping like everybody else. So okay, well, we've been going almost an hour. I told you that would go by pretty fast.
Yep.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about your possible podcast. And if you ever need help, just reach out. I'm glad to help you. What would the topic be? Just general reselling or postcards, or what are you thinking?
I'm not really sure. That's part of the problem because I have so many interests and ideas. And I actually have a couple other YouTube channels, which are kind of not as, I don't grow it like I do my main one. But so I could do something about, living with chronic illnesses or reselling with chronic illnesses. I don't know if that's too much of a niche, too much of a specific topic. Or living in Montana. There's so many ways that I could go. But I just have to pick something that I'm really excited about, it's not going to become, chore to do.
Yes. Yes.
Because I also have rebel tendencies that if I have something that I don't like, I'm going to rebel against myself and not do it. So.
Like that thing you bought to sell and then you get home and you're really not that excited about it and it just keeps going to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, it's like just donate it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Well, I think the reselling with chronic illness would be a good place to start because there are a lot of resellers out there, even if they're not chronically ill now, maybe someday they may need that information. And in my experience working with other resellers, whether they're caregivers or they themselves have illnesses that they're dealing with, eBay is such a bright light in their day. It's something that you can do and time just passes and you don't realize you're, in the flow of it. And it's not so depressing. It's not like, doctor's appointments and all these things you have to do when you're sick. It's a fun hobby you can make money at. And the other sellers that have been on that have chronic illness or, whatever their situation was, that's what I'm getting is that's their passion. And it's something they can do from home when they feel good. Even if you're sitting in your bed with your laptop, for an hour or so, it's a welcome distraction from the reality. And just, being sick it just sucks up time and energy and your life.
And money. Yeah.
And money. Yeah.
Yeah. But it gives you a reason to get going because I know I have to get up and ship my stuff. So, and even if I'm not feeling that well, I do have the 2-day shipping on it, but I just do my best to try to get that out every day in a timely manner and then have a goal of listing so many things.
Well, and if you start with that, you can always change what you're doing. When I started my podcast it was March of 2021, I just thought it was going to be me talking about eBay. And then I had a couple of guests on and the audience loved it. And so I have not gone back to just me talking because there's so many sellers that want to come on and talk about their business and everybody's different. Everybody has a different journey. And but yet there's these underlying themes of why people come to eBay, getting ready for retirement, stay-at-home mom, homeschooling, it fits right in, all these different reasons people do it. It's like little clicks in high school, and
Yep.
some people have multiple reasons. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you provide the platform for those who don't want to have a YouTube channel or don't know how to do it. So then they have a voice too.
Right. Yeah.
And
Okay. So we'll watch for you to have a podcast, and maybe if you get that going, you
Right,
can come on again and talk about it.
yeah. Well, by the time this airs, I might have another idea.
That's me. Yeah. I make lists, and they're everywhere of my ideas, and some of them happen, some of them don't. You start thinking about the logistics, and it's like, it's going to take a long time to put that together. And do I really want to thin myself out even more than I already am? Because it is time, and everybody has the same amount of time every day. It's just what you do with it and how you manage it. And I just don't want to be a slave to my computer for the rest of my life. That's why we do this, is so it can be flexible and you can make money from home. And like my daughter came to visit over the weekend. It was her birthday, and she came for 2 days, and that's enough for us. but I didn't do anything when she was here. And it was nice just to put it aside and spend time with family. And that's why we do this, is so we can be flexible.
Yeah. You don't have to ask anyone for time off. You just do it.
And you don't have to call in sick and leave work to go to a doctor's appointment and all that stuff. It's just all on you. And if you want to stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning, or if you have insomnia and you want to work in the middle of the night, you can.
That happens a lot.
yeah, especially with medications. I mean, they mess up sleep. Yeah.
I was up till about 2 last night listing, and then sometimes I just get up later. So it's just my own schedule, and works. Nobody cares the hour, as long as I put in the hours.
I love that feeling of, I could stay up late. I don't have to be anywhere or do anything in the morning. It's fine. I love that about having my own business and just setting my own hours. So I usually work on the weekends doing, editing and listing and shopping, and then take a day sort of off during the middle of the week where I can do my errands, and there's not as many people out as there are on the weekends.
Right.
I like to do that. But okay, well, I have one last question for you. And that is, what is your favorite part of eBay selling?
Oh, my favorite part. I think it's when somebody actually finds something meaningful when they purchase a postcard, such as when they find their family history or something from their childhood. And, even with the old history, to put it in the hands of somebody who will appreciate it.
So it's the process of rehoming that item to someone who it's meaningful to.
Yeah. If I could, if I could make money off of it, I would love to get the old pictures and letters and stuff and find the people the original families, and rehome them that way. But it's not always possible. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been very informative, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and share all your information. Are you very active in the Facebook group?
Not a lot. I'm trying not to do that much social media, but I do read a lot of the posts when I see them in my feed. Sometimes I'll comment, but yeah.
Okay.
There again, have to watch time and.
Right. I will tag you when I post, the podcast. Okay. So then people in the group can reach out and message you and that kind of thing. And of course, if you're not friends with them, you don't have to answer their message. It'll go into your, whatever that folder is, message requests.
Right.
So,
okay.
Anyway, some people don't want to be bothered, but it's up to you. So that's why I don't, most guests don't want their store name on the podcast. It's just different than being in a private Facebook group and posting your sales. It's just a privacy thing, because this is going out on the airwaves and a lot of people are going to hear that. But,
Okay.
they have to do all the work you're doing to get to where you are. So
Mhm.
you're probably not threatened by that if you have a YouTube channel anyway.
No,
Um,
everybody kind of can find me if they want to.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thanks again. And we will be looking forward to your new podcast if that happens.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Bye.
thank you. Mhm.
Thank you again, Julie, for coming on the podcast. And listeners, make sure to visit Julie's YouTube channel. Just Google Julie Norman Postcards and you will find her. And you can expand your knowledge about postcards and other ephemera. She is a great teacher. Today's trivia question is about the death and mourning photography Julie talked about. Why did people take photos of their deceased family members during Victorian times? Here are a few seconds to think about it. Okay, photographs of loved ones taken after they died may seem morbid to modern sensibilities, but in Victorian times, they became a way of commemorating the dead and blunting the sharpness of grief. In images that are both unsettling and strangely poignant, families pose with the dead, infants appear asleep, and consumptive young ladies elegantly recline, the disease not only taking their life, but increasing their beauty. Victorian life was suffused with death. Epidemics such as diphtheria, typhus, and cholera scarred the globe, and from 1861, the bereaved Queen Victoria made mourning fashionable. It was often the first time families thought of having a photograph taken. It was the last chance to have a permanent likeness of a beloved child. Long exposures when taking photographs meant that the dead were often seen more sharply than the slightly blurred living because of their lack of movement. On some occasions, eyes would be painted on top of the photograph after it was developed, which meant to make the deceased more lifelike, while other times death was more obvious. So yes, this was a kind of morbid topic, but it is history, which is not always sunshine and unicorns. Okay, next week my guest is Lisa in Colorado, who I am going to call the Desert Scavenger. She sells all kinds of things, but part of her routine is walking her dog in the desert, where she finds abandoned things that she can sell. And Lisa is really clever about this process. Thank you all again for stopping by, and I will be back next week. Have a great week on eBay. Bye, everybody.